Hey, what's up guys? Tugi here, back again with a tutorial? I guess, if you want to call it that. I'm still asked pretty frequently on both Twitter and in the YouTube comment section, how do I add players to junior teams? Which, well, some of you might already be thinking, well, that's obvious. Hey, some people might not know, and that's what this video is for. We're going to inform everybody on how to add players to junior teams. And it really is simple, but still, let's go over it anyway, just because that way I can redirect people to this video instead of having to type out the same thing over and over again. So what we have here are 4 different players. We got Joe NHL, Nash's favorite player, Joe EU. We got Joe I and Joe Y. Now, pretty straightforward here as far as what you're going to want to do. And we have these players set up in different ways to test it out. So Joe NHL is our first example. Now, when you're creating a player, of course, you fill in all the information. The key thing is to change pro team to whatever team that player is on. That's the most important part of all of this. Of course, you can fill in the rest of the information, including whether or not somebody is signed to a contract. If you don't know for sure, go to capfriendly.com, check that team's page, and plug in the contract information. Pretty straightforward. We have him set as January 1st, 2000 birthday, so he'll be 17 years old. And of course, as you can see, we put him on the Barrie Colts. Now, as far as what team you put a player on, say if they're an NCAA player like Cale Makar, it doesn't matter what team you put them on. The only time the junior leagues are mentioned is when a player's drafted within franchise mode. You can't even look to see who won the Memorial Cup that year. Taking a look at our second player, again, Nash's favorite player, pro team again, is set to Colorado, but we have him factored in as somebody who just signed an entry-level deal. So 3 years, 2-way contract, pretty straightforward stuff. Again, same exact birthday, January 1st of 2000. The other 2 players, though, that we have assigned them to Brinas of the SHL. And again, it's going to be a fairly similar situation for these 2. Starting with Joe I. Of course, we have him set as a member of the Avalanche. He, though, is also signed to a contract, but we made him a 1998 birthday because if you're going to add somebody to a European team, they have to be 18 or older. Unfortunately, with the game, if somebody is 17 or younger, it'll only let you add them to junior teams. So it's just the way the game works. And then with Joe Y, again, same thing. Added on, or pro team set to Colorado, added to that franchise. 0 in terms of contract length. And again, a 1998 birthday. So we have 2 players in junior, 1 signed, 1 that isn't. And we have 2 players in the SHL, 1 that is signed and 1 that isn't. So let's go ahead and take a look at what happens once you've added them to those teams. And of course, if it's somebody who's playing on Colorado or whatever NHL team that you wanted to add, you can do that. It's not an issue. You can put them on whatever team you want, really. But again, this video is just discussing, hey, how do I get players on the junior teams? Remember, though, it's only a thing if you play on Classic. If you do either the expansion draft options, it changes the roster you are using. This is only possible using Classic rosters, so keep that in mind. Of course, all this information doesn't really matter, except for the fact that I don't want to be the Bruins. I'm sorry. That is just the muscle memory, would you call it? Instinct to be like, ooh, the Bruins, let's control them and turn them into a winner. It's fine. All these settings, of course, you can change all that if you want to. It doesn't matter. We don't have to do that. I just want to show you guys the fact that it's literally that simple. It's that simple. That's all you have to do. It's pretty straightforward. However, there will be one note along with this, and you'll see in a second. I could easily skip to the end of this, but again, I'll show you guys the entire process. It's not that complicated, so why not? There is one downside, of course, to adding creative players to the game, and that is that there will be UFAs once their first contract is up, no matter what. Of course, typically in real life, say Cale Makar gets signed tomorrow by Colorado, he would be an RFA at the end of that deal. The way it works in this game, he'd be a UFA, so you might see some prospects hit the free agent list much earlier in their careers than they should. As we go to view contracts, we'll go to in the system, we'll sort by overall, and there you have our 4 players. Now you might notice something. Joe NHL, unsigned. Joe EU is signed. A UFA, though, at the end of that deal. However, the 2 players that we added to Brinos, one of them was unsigned, the other one wasn't. Regardless, they both show up as unsigned. So while you can put players on to a European team, the contract will not carry over. So keep that in mind. Say, for example, I don't know, I can't even think of, say, a Swedish prospect that would have been, they'd have to create and draft. I think you get the point, though. So if they're added, if they have signed a deal with their NHL team, I would recommend, if you really care for, accurate contract information like I do, I would recommend just putting them onto a junior team, even if they actually play for a Finnish or a Swedish team. Now, even if we sign one of the 2 players that's currently on a Swedish team, you can see regardless, they're a UFA at the end of that contract, and there's a chance that they'll hit the free agent market, especially if it's somebody who's kind of developed into a good player quickly and the team can't afford their new, salary cap or the new contract request, as it would probably be better known. I think you guys get the point. Like, it is pretty straightforward, as I mentioned, but I wanted to do this video just as a quick little guide to say literally that's all you have to do. Just make sure that the player is set to the team that they should be on, and you're good to go. Now, if your problem is, where do I get the information for these players? Again, contract information, capfriendly.com is your friend. For me, when it comes to creating players, like if I'm creating Cale Makar, I'm going to look at eliteprospects.com. I'm also going to just, Google search Cale Makar scouting report. And that'll bring up sites like Dober Hockey, the Hockey News, might have ended up doing some write-ups, Sportsnet as well. There are ways to find out information about these players. And when it comes to player potential, when it comes to a starting overall, that's subjective for the most part. I mean, you can ask me on Twitter, hey, Toogie, what do you think Cale Makar should be? And, I don't know, low elite? That seems kind of fair. Just because you don't know and it's his first year playing in the NCAA. But you can see, even then, I don't have a sure thing of an answer. But when it comes to actually getting the player information, again, those sites are good to use. There's also a site that's not up to date anymore, but it is called Hockey's Future. Just Google search that out, and you'll be able to, you'll be able to see scouting reports from players that have been in the league for a while. With the Matt Duchene trade video I made, when it came to looking up information on guys like Samuel Girard and Vladislav Kamenev, Hockey's Future really came in handy. I think that pretty much covers it. If you found this video useful, good. At least I know it wasn't pointless to make. If you didn't find it useful, but you still watched it, then hey, I appreciate you, and thank you very much. That'll pretty much do it for this one. Have a good day, a good night, a good life, and I'll see you next time.